Only I came to my husband's funeral, not my son, not his wife, not one grandchild. Just me, a coffin, and a priest pretending this wasn't embarrassing. The wind hissed through the chapel doors, cold and impatient. Even nature didn't want to stay. The priest cleared his throat. "Would you like to wait a few minutes, Mrs. Whitford?" "No," I said. "Start. Henry hated lateness." He read the verses to rows of empty chairs. The echo made it sound like a mockery. The flowers looked too bright, the coffin too polished, like they were trying to cover what everyone else refused to face. When he said amen, I didn't bow. I looked at the clock. 10 minutes late. Not him, them. I walked outside. The sky had turned to slate. The wind tugged at my coat like it wanted me gone. At the parking lot, I checked my phone. There he was, my son Mark, in a video. Loud music, flashing lights, champagne glass raised high. Caption, "Celebrating life. Cheers to new beginnings." He toasted while his father was lowered into the ground. I called. He picked up, laughing. "Mom, hey, can I call you later? You're at a party." Pause. "How do you know?" "Because I saw you." "Dad wouldn't want you to—" "Don't you dare finish that sentence." In the background, Vanessa's voice, smooth and smug. "Mrs. Whitford, grief affects people differently." I cut her off. "Yes, some people cry, others post selfies." She chuckled. "You sound upset." "I sound awake." And I hung up. No crying, no trembling hands, just clarity. When I got home, the house felt smaller. His chair sat untouched. His watch still ticked beside the lamp. The silence wasn't quiet. It roared. I went straight to Henry's desk. The green ledger lay there. His handwriting, neat, patient. Page after page of generosity disguised as accounting. 1999, tuition, $12,000. 2005, house down payment, $20,000. 2011, temporary loan, $7,500. Every line signed with love. Love had become bookkeeping. Then I found one entry written smaller, almost hidden. 2018. Private withdrawal to assist Mark. Do not tell Mom. Amount, $42,000. My chest went cold. He'd hidden it from me, to protect a son who would later skip his funeral. I stared at the ink until it blurred. Then I closed the ledger and whispered, "Henry, you were merciful. I'll be accurate." I turned on my laptop, opened my email. To Julian Cross, attorney at law. Subject, full revocation, effective immediately. Message, remove Mark and Vanessa Whitford from all accounts, deeds, and trusts. Redirect to Caleb Whitford. No notice, no delay. I attached the ledger photos. Pressed send. The click was louder than thunder. I printed the email, signed my initials, and placed it on top of the ledger. Then I wrote one sentence at the bottom of the page. He toasted while his father was buried. The printer light blinked green. It sounded like a verdict. A car pulled up outside, tires on wet gravel. Then a knock, sharp, rehearsed. I opened the door. Vanessa. Hair perfect, smile plastic, eyes tired from pretending. "Mark told me you're upset," she said. "I'm not upset. I'm busy." "Busy doing what?" "Correcting my will." Her smile cracked. "You can't just erase us." "I already did." "That's not legal. It's moral." She stepped closer, perfume too strong. "People will think you've lost it." I met her eyes. "They already did. Now I'll give them proof." She scoffed. "You'll regret this." "No," I said. "You will. I document everything." I shut the door before she could breathe another word. The house fell silent again. I stood in the hallway, hand on the wood, feeling it vibrate from the slam. It felt good, solid, final. I turned to the mantel. Henry's watch ticked. Steady, loyal. The candle beside it flickered once and steadied. I whispered, "They chose parties. I choose peace." Then I slid the signed paper under the ledger, sealed it with a clip, and placed it in a brown envelope marked proof of revision. Tomorrow, I'd walk into Julian's office and file it. I'd bring the ledger, the screenshots, the silence of a mother who had finally stopped begging for respect. Outside, the rain started again, soft but relentless. It hit the window like slow applause. They buried their father in absence. Now I bury their names in law, and this time, the grave will hold. The morning after, the air in the house was sharper. It smelled like paper and rain. That's what justice smells like before it's signed. I sat at Henry's desk, the ledger open. The numbers didn't lie. They never do. Every line was a reminder of how quiet betrayal can be. 1999, 2005, 2011, 2018. A timeline of generosity turned stupidity. I poured coffee, black and bitter, the way he used to drink it. Then I called Julian. He answered on the first ring. "I've already drafted the amendment," he said. "Need your signature. Make it permanent." "It will be," he replied. "You're sure about this?" "Completely." When I arrived at his office, he was waiting with a folder the color of ash. He didn't offer condolences. Good. I didn't need any. He handed me the pen. "Here's the clause removing your son and his wife." I read every word. Removed. Revoked. Irrevocable. 3 perfect words for peace. He asked, "Where will the estate go?" "To Caleb." "Your grandson?" "The only one who showed up when no one else did." Julian nodded. "I'll prepare the trust." "Do it today." I signed. Ink met paper. That's how justice breathes. He looked up. "Do you want to inform them?" "No," I said. "I want the silence to do it." When I left, the rain had turned thin, silver, almost polite. I walked straight to the bank. The clerk recognized me. "Good morning, Mrs. Whitford." "Not yet," I said. "But it will be." I slid the folder across the counter. "These accounts, close them. These 2, transfer to Julian Cross, trustee of the Caleb Whitford Fund, and add my signature as final authorization." She blinked. "All of them?" "All." The printer whirred. Each page slid out like a confession. Her hands trembled as she stapled the set. "Would you like receipts?" "Yes, paper doesn't forget." When I stepped outside, the sky cracked with thunder. For a moment, it sounded like applause again. Back home, I opened the ledger one last time. Every entry I read, I tore out. Each page burned clean in the fireplace. Money, excuses, memories, gone. When the last flame dimmed, I said softly, "Balance settled." Then the phone rang. "Unknown number." I answered. "Mother?" Mark's voice, low, cautious. "Wrong number." "Wait, don't hang up. Vanessa told me you were serious." Finally, she told the truth. "Mom, listen. There's no need to make this ugly." "It's already ugly, Mark. You just preferred it quiet." He sighed, fake and heavy. "Dad wouldn't want you to do this. Dad wouldn't want to be buried alone." He went silent. I could almost hear him searching for another excuse. "Things were complicated," he said at last. "No," I said. "Complicated is a tax return. This was simple. You chose a party." He tried again. "We all grieve differently." "You grieve with cocktails? That's not fair." "It's arithmetic." There was a long pause. Then his voice softened. "You're really cutting us out?" "No," I said calmly. "You cut yourselves out. I'm just signing the paperwork." He didn't like that. I heard his breathing change. "You're angry." "No, Mark. I'm finished." He raised his voice. "Do you even care what people will think?" "They'll think the truth. I was alone. You weren't." He hung up. "That's fine." The silence was cleaner anyway. I sat at the desk again. The ledger, now empty, waited for a new beginning. I took a black marker and wrote on the first page, "Justice logged, all debts collected." Then I slipped it into the drawer and locked it. The phone buzzed again. A message from Caleb. "Grandma, I heard about the funeral. Mom said you didn't want us there." I stared at the words until my pulse steadied. Then I typed back. She lied. She always lies. Call me tomorrow. We have things to discuss. He replied instantly. I will. I miss Grandpa. Simple, honest, no spin. That's how I knew I'd chosen the right heir. The rain eased outside, leaving the windows streaked like veins of silver. I stood there for a long moment, listening to the clock tick. Every sound in this house had a pulse again. When the thunder rolled far away, I whispered, "You always said I was too forgiving, Henry. Turns out you were wrong." I turned off the lights. The house hummed with quiet power, not grief, order. In the darkness, the faint glow of the ledger's brass corners caught the light from the window. It looked like something sacred. People say closure comes from forgiveness. They're wrong. Closure comes from documentation. And tonight, I had every receipt. Julian's office always smelled like order. Eucalyptus, ink, and expensive silence. He looked up as I walked in, his pen already poised. "You didn't waste time," he said. "I buried time yesterday," I replied. He gestured toward the chair across from him. 2 folders sat neatly on the desk, one old, one new. The old one still had my husband's handwriting on the tabs. The new one had mine. "Let's begin," I said. He opened the old folder first, flipping through every page with the precision of a surgeon. "Henry's estate was well organized," he said. "He left nothing unclear." "Except his son," I said. "That was his one mistake." Julian gave a small, knowing nod. "I've drafted the new trust. You'll find the clauses airtight." I leaned forward. "And irreversible?" "Completely. Once signed, no one can contest it." "Perfect. Then give me the pen." He slid the folder across the desk. The paper inside was heavy, embossed with gold seals that caught the light like small suns. At the top, the title, "The Whitford Family Trust, Revised Allocation." My name looked sharp in ink. Below it, Caleb's. No Mark, no Vanessa. I read every line, slowly, deliberately. Julian didn't interrupt. He'd learned that about me long ago. I don't sign until I understand every word I'm weaponizing. Clause 1. Transfer of property, primary residence, vehicles, and holdings to beneficiary Caleb Whitford, to be held in trust until age 30. Clause 2. Beneficiaries, Mark Whitford and Vanessa Whitford, revoked. Clause 3. All prior authorizations null and void, justice in triplicate. Julian said quietly, "You've done this with no hesitation." "I've been hesitating for 40 years, I answered. I picked up the pen, a silver one Henry had once used to sign our mortgage papers. It still felt heavy, reliable. I signed each page. My signature didn't shake. When I finished, Julian stamped the bottom corner with his notary seal. The thud echoed through the room like a closing door. He pushed another envelope toward me. "This one is for Caleb, his copy." "I'll give it to him myself," I said. "He deserves to hear it from my voice, not from a clerk." Julian leaned back. "You know, most people come here full of doubt. They tremble. They second guess. You don't." I met his eyes. "Doubt is a luxury. Dignity isn't." He smiled faintly. "Henry used to say something similar. He taught me well. The difference is, he forgave too easily." Julian's phone buzzed on the desk. He silenced it. "Mark's already called my office twice," he said. "Let him call," I replied. "I'll answer him in signatures." We both sat in silence for a moment, the kind of silence that builds walls. Outside, rain streaked the window in clean lines. Inside, the clock ticked once, steady and loyal. Julian finally spoke. "I'll file this with the court this afternoon. Once stamped, it's done." "Good," I said. "Make sure there's a copy stored off-site." "Already arranged." He closed the folder, tied it with a thin ribbon, and handed it to his assistant. She carried it out like evidence in a trial. I stood. "That's the last time their names ever appear beside mine." Julian nodded. "Then consider the case closed." "No," I said. "The paperwork's done. The case isn't. The verdict comes when they realize what silence costs." He didn't argue. He knew I was right. Before leaving, I asked, "You still have Henry's old files?" "In the archive, yes." "Keep them. They belong to his memory, not his heirs." Outside, the rain had stopped. The air smelled metallic, almost new. I walked to the car, opened the passenger seat, and placed Caleb's envelope there. The gold seal gleamed under the faint morning light. On the way home, I stopped by the old park where Henry used to feed pigeons. The benches were slick with rain. I sat anyway, the envelope in my lap, the paper warm from my hands. It felt heavier than any inheritance should. My phone buzzed again, Mark's number. I didn't answer. I just let it ring until it died. Then I texted Julian one sentence. "If he calls again, tell him to call his conscience." I turned off the phone and stared at the reflection in the puddle near my feet. For the first time, I saw myself clearly. Not a widow, not a mother, not a caretaker, just a woman who finished what needed to be done. I whispered to the reflection, "Forgiveness is optional. Proof is not." When I arrived home, the mailbox was wet. Inside, a single card. Sympathy. Unsigned. Probably from someone who couldn't face me at the funeral. I tore it in half and threw it away. The living room smelled like wood polish and rain. Henry's watch ticked steadily on the mantel. I set the envelope beside it. Caleb would come tomorrow. He'd open it with those careful hands of his, and inside, he'd find not just paper, but the truth. That legacy doesn't belong to those who appear in photos. It belongs to those who show up when no one's watching. I poured myself a drink, neat bourbon, 2 fingers, raised the glass toward the ticking watch. "To you, Henry," I said softly. "You believed in grace. I believe in evidence." The clock answered with one steady tick, as if agreeing. Outside, the clouds parted just enough for one thin ray of light. It fell across the envelope, turning the gold seal into a small, burning sun. Justice didn't need thunder, it just needed daylight. And now, it had both. I didn't sleep that night. Some victories are too clean for dreams. At 5:00 a.m., I brewed coffee, sat at the desk, and opened my laptop. The glow from the screen painted the room pale and merciless. Henry's photo faced me from the mantel. Steady, silent approval. I clicked compose. To Mark Whitford. CC, Vanessa Whitford. Subject, estate revision notice. My fingers didn't hesitate. Mark, your name is gone from everything that matters. The trust, the accounts, the house, the company shares, all of it. Your father gave you chances. I gave you years. You repaid both with absence. Do not call. Do not visit. Caleb is the only Whitford left on record. Mom. I reread it once. No emotion, no edit. Then I attached the ledger photo, the will excerpt, the proof. I clicked send. The email left with a quiet swoosh. Small sound, immense consequence. I stared at the outbox. Then I did something I'd never done before. I deleted their contact numbers, one by one, like pruning dead branches. A notification blinked on screen. Message delivered. That was enough. I didn't need a reply. Silence would serve as acknowledgement. I opened another email draft, this one to Julian. Subject, execution confirmed, everything sent. Expect noise. Let them scream into voicemail. I won't. He replied in 2 minutes. Understood. File is sealed. I'll handle the fallout. I closed the laptop and exhaled. The sound of the lid snapping shut was final, like a judge's gavel. Outside, the sky was just turning gray. Rain tapped the window gently, a softer rhythm this time. The house didn't feel empty anymore. It felt mine. I looked at Henry's watch on the mantel, still ticking, still faithful. "See?" I whispered. "They can't bury you twice." I poured the last of the coffee, black and cold, and raised the cup toward the quiet morning. They'd chosen celebration over respect. Now I'd chosen deletion over forgiveness. And that was the fairest exchange I'd ever made. The rain stopped, but the smell of it stayed in the walls. That's how guilt works. It lingers long after the storm moves on. I opened the drawer where Henry kept the receipts. 14 years of transfers, tuition, car repairs, temporary help, paper stacked like bricks in a mausoleum built for my patients. I spread them across the table, rows of canceled checks, wire slips, thank you notes that never said thank you. Every line was proof of how much I'd paid for their silence. The printer hummed behind me, spitting out new copies. Clean, dated, weaponized. Page after page slid out like a slow confession. I didn't flinch. Each sheet landed beside the next until the table looked like a crime scene. Victims, trust, respect, family. Weapon, entitlement. I picked up the oldest one, 2009. A check to Mark, $18,500 labeled Startup Investment. Startup failed. Next page, 2014, $22,000 to help with mortgage. Mortgage still unpaid. Then 2018, $42,000. Henry's handwriting this time, the one he hid from me. That was the one that broke the balance. I wrote across the top in red ink, final transaction. Emotion closed. The doorbell rang. I ignored it. The printer finished the last page and beeped once, like applause. My phone buzzed. Caleb. I answered. "Grandma," he said, voice unsure. "Mom told me you didn't want us at the funeral." I stared at the mountain of papers. She lied. He was quiet. Then, "I thought so. She said you were angry at everyone." "I was disappointed," I said. "That's different." He exhaled slowly. "I wish I'd known sooner." "I know. You always call when it matters." He didn't answer, but I heard the guilt in his breath. "Grandma," he said finally, "what are you doing right now?" "Taking inventory," I said. "Of what?" 14 years of mistakes. He hesitated. "Mom won't like that." "She didn't like respect either," I said. He almost laughed, then caught himself. "You sound calmer than I expected." "I'm not calm, Caleb. I'm done." We stayed quiet for a moment. Then I said softly, "Your grandfather trusted people who didn't deserve it. I won't repeat his kindness." "I understand." "No," I said. "You will. That's why you're the heir." When the call ended, I sat back. The room smelled like toner and rain. Justice has its own scent. I stacked the papers in order, clipped them into sections: education, property, emergency. It looked professional, almost corporate. That's how family fraud should be handled, like business. I took one more look at the ledger's final page, the one where Henry had written, "Do not tell Mom." Then I fed it into the shredder. The machine whined, chewed, and swallowed it whole. I whispered, "Now we're even." A knock sounded at the door, sharp, deliberate. I knew that rhythm. Vanessa. I opened it halfway. She stood there holding an umbrella she didn't need. The sky was dry. "Mark's worried," she said. "He should be," I answered. She smiled the way snakes do, thin, polite, poisonous. "I just want to talk." "Talking is free. Everything else costs." She stepped inside without waiting. "You've been busy, haven't you? Emails, lawyers, deleting us?" "Correction," I said. "Editing history." She circled the table, eyes darting across the papers. "What's all this?" "Evidence." She picked up a page, reading the numbers. "You kept receipts?" "Paper doesn't lie." Her voice sharpened. "This is petty." "This is precise." "You're destroying your own family." "No," I said. "I'm itemizing it." She dropped the paper back onto the stack, shaking her head. "You think Caleb will thank you for this?" "I don't need thanks. I need closure." Vanessa crossed her arms. "You'll regret this when he turns against you, too." "Maybe," I said, "but at least he'll do it with honesty." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she looked around, sneering. "All this over a few missed calls and one funeral?" I met her eyes. "No, over 14 years of pretending that love excused everything." Her jaw clenched. You can't erase us." "I just did." I pointed toward the door. "Take the umbrella. You'll need it where you're going." She turned, heels clicking like gunfire on tile. When the door closed, I felt the air clear. I went back to the table, gathered the pages, slid them into an envelope marked "Proof of Debt." I sealed it with tape, pressing down hard until the glue squealed. Then I whispered to the empty room, "They lied through comfort. I'll answer with proof." I placed the envelope beside Henry's watch. Its ticking was louder tonight, almost proud. Some people measure love in flowers. I measure it in evidence. By noon, the house looked like a newsroom preparing for war. Laptop open, printer running, coffee cold, evidence everywhere. I moved like a surgeon, steady, exact, unforgiving. 14 years of betrayal were about to get a spotlight. The video file sat on my desktop. Funeral footage untouched. No music, no filter, just truth. I clicked play once more before releasing it. Henry's casket, empty pews, one bouquet, my hands folded, silence thicker than soil. Then, Mark's laughter in the background of a phone recording. He'd posted it on his story the same afternoon. His caption read, "Best night ever." I paused the frame. That image would do the talking. I opened a new window, uploaded the file to every platform he used: Facebook, Instagram, local memorial page. Caption: "While I stood alone at my husband's funeral, my son raised a glass to himself. I hit post." Seconds later, the view count started climbing. 10, 50, 200. Then the comments came. "This can't be real." "Unbelievable." "Who raised him?" "You deserved better, ma'am." It was working. The world was seeing what I'd seen. My phone buzzed again. Mark calling. I let it ring out. Then Vanessa's name flashed. Declined. Again. Declined. On the third attempt, I answered, "Mom, what did you do?" "I uploaded honesty." "You posted a private moment. You made it public when you skipped the funeral." "You're humiliating us," he shouted. "No," I said. "I'm documenting your priorities." He cursed, loud, then quieter. "Do you have any idea how this looks?" "Yes," I said. "That's why I added subtitles." He inhaled sharply. "Take it down." "Why?" "It's your performance." "People are calling me, Mom. My job saw it. Vanessa's family." "Then you finally know what exposure feels like." He tried to lower his voice, bargaining now. "You can't keep doing this. You're angry. You'll regret it." "I'm not angry," I said. "I'm efficient." The silence on his end cracked. He said, "You've gone too far." "And you," I answered, "didn't go far enough. Not even to your father's grave." Click. He hung up. Perfect. I turned back to the laptop. The video already had 3,000 views and counting. Someone had shared it to the local news group. The caption read, "Charleston widow calls out her own son." I opened the comment thread. Dozens of strangers were defending me. Each word hit harder than any courtroom verdict. Then Caleb texted, "Grandma, it's everywhere. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Truth spreads faster than rumors." "Mom's furious." "Good. Fury means the lie's dying." He called right after. "Everyone at college saw it," he said. "People are saying you're fearless." "I'm not fearless, Caleb. I'm tired." He hesitated. "What if they come after you?" "Then they'll find receipts." He laughed quietly. "You sound like Grandpa." "That's the point," I said. When we hung up, I opened another tab. News outlets, email inboxes. A local reporter had already sent a message. "Mrs. Whitford, can we verify the video?" I replied, "Verified." Timestamp attached. Certificate of funeral home enclosed. I attached Henry's obituary for context. Within 10 minutes, my inbox exploded. 5 more requests, 2 radio stations. Justice had gone viral. Then, doorbell. Hard knock. Repeated. I checked the monitor. Mark. Alone this time. I opened the door halfway. He looked wrecked. Tie crooked, eyes swollen, ego deflated. "You're destroying me," he said. "No," I replied. "You're watching yourself in high definition." He stepped inside anyway. "You don't understand what you've done." Oh, I understand perfectly. You wanted distance. I gave you spotlight. He slammed his hand on the table. That was my life. And this, I said, pointing at the video on the screen, was his death. He looked at it. His father's coffin, my lone silhouette. Then the laughter clip played again, his voice echoing through the speakers. He winced. Turn it off. Face it, I said. If you can laugh at the funeral, you can listen to the playback. He shouted, You're cruel. No, I'm consistent. He grabbed the laptop lid, tried to close it. I stopped him. Don't. Evidence belongs to everyone now. He froze. Mom, please. Save please for your next apology video. The room went silent except for the faint hum of the computer fan. Outside, thunder cracked. Rain returned. Appropriate soundtrack. I looked straight at him. You humiliated your father with absence. You humiliated me with silence. Now the world humiliated you with truth. He dropped his gaze, shaking. I made one mistake, he muttered. No, Mark. You made it repeatedly and called it life. I walked to the window, watching lightning split the sky. The reflection showed him behind me, smaller, quiet, exposed. I said without turning, Do you know what your father told me the night before he died? He didn't answer. He said, If they shame you, cut them off. I waited too long to obey. He swallowed hard. What now? Now, I said. You live with what you posted. He left without another word. The door shut, rain swallowing his footsteps. I reopened the video and hit play one more time. The thunder rolled, matching the rhythm of my pulse. At the end, I added one line of text before uploading the final version. Justice isn't loud, it's just finally heard. Then I leaned back, let the glow of the screen wash over me. Outside, lightning flashed again, briefly illuminating Henry's headstone through the rain-streaked glass. For the first time, I didn't look away. By the next morning, my front gate camera caught her, heels, shades, and fury. Vanessa never knocked. She announced. She stormed up the path, perfume cutting through the rain like poison. I didn't move. I let her ring twice. Then I opened the door halfway. Well, she said, smile tight as a blade. Enjoying your 15 minutes? I've had 70 years, I answered. Yours are almost over. She pushed past me without asking. Always did. The living room lights caught the envelope pile on my table. Ledgers, printed emails, screenshots. The funeral video paused mid-frame. She stared at it. You actually posted it. Yes. You ruined Mark's job. No, I said. He ruined his father's burial. I just gave the public replay access. She dropped her bag onto the sofa, glaring. Do you realize what people are saying about us? Yes. And for once, they're right. She folded her arms. You think this makes you powerful? It makes me accurate. Vanessa laughed. Short, brittle. You're sick. No, I said. I'm awake. She paced the room, heels striking the floor like small verdicts. You've humiliated your own family. Correction, I said. I exposed mine. She turned, voice rising. You're destroying your son. I'm freeing him from you. That stopped her. The color drained from her face. You don't know what you're saying, she snapped. I do. You built your marriage on leverage, not love. I've read the emails. Her eyes flicked toward the printer stack. You went through our accounts? I went through the ones you used to siphon mine. Vanessa froze. For the first time, silence filled the space where manipulation used to live. I slid a folder across the table. Page 1, your fake consultancy invoices. Page 2, Mark's forged signature. Page 3, my lawyer's affidavit. She didn't touch it, didn't touch. What do you want? She asked quietly. An ending. Her voice cracked. You can't prove everything. Everything? I smiled. I don't need everything. I need enough. She glanced toward the window, jaw tight. You think you're some kind of hero? No, I said. Heroes forgive. I document. Her hands trembled as she reached into her purse, pulling out her phone. Delete the video, now. No. I'll sue you. For what? Truth in public? She stepped closer, shaking with rage. You've turned everyone against us. They turned when they saw the footage. Her tone cracked into pleading. You'll ruin Mark's career. Good. Then he can start a new one in honesty. Tears welled, mascara streaking. She hated losing the mask. You're cruel. No, I said. I'm complete. She grabbed the folder, flipped through it fast. Lines, stamps, Julian's notary seal. Her voice barely a whisper. You kept everything. Yes, paper doesn't forget. People do. She threw the folder down. You don't understand how the world works anymore. I met her eyes. The world works on receipts. Always has. Her hands balled into fists. You're enjoying this. No, I said calmly. Enjoyment is temporary. This is permanent. The phone on the table buzzed. Another notification. Funeral. Justice still trending. I let her see it. She glared. You think this hashtag is justice? It's the mirror you both avoided. Her voice turned cold again. You'll die alone with your pride. I took a slow breath. Better with pride than surrounded by parasites. Vanessa shook her head. You've lost your mind. Maybe, I said, but I've kept my evidence. She grabbed her bag and turned toward the door. Before she left, I said quietly, Vanessa. She stopped. When you lied to Caleb, you stole his chance to say goodbye. That's what this is about. She didn't answer. I continued, each word sharper than the last. You thought you could bury me in guilt. Instead, you buried yourself in proof. She spun around, eyes red, voice cracking. You can't erase me from this family. I already did, digitally and legally. Her lips trembled. Mark will fight you. He can try. The court loves evidence, too. She opened the door. Rain waited for her like punishment. Before stepping out, she turned back, whispering, You'll regret this. I met her gaze. No, you will when the silence starts calling your name. The door closed behind her, hard. I stood there, the echo hanging in the air like thunder after lightning. I walked to the table, picked up the folder, and tapped the edges square. Order restored. Outside, I heard her car start, engine screaming down the street. I whispered to the empty house. She came with perfume and left with proof. Then I opened the laptop again. Inbox flooded, messages from strangers, sympathy, outrage, applause. The world had already chosen its side. I looked out at the rain, murmuring to Henry's photo on the wall. She wanted noise. I gave her clarity. The printer light blinked once, green and calm. The war had moved from grief to control, and I was winning. By evening, the rain stopped, but thunder stayed, circling, waiting. So did I. Julian called first. He's coming over, he said. Do you want me there? Yes, I said. Bring Grace, too. This won't be private. An hour later, the front room looked like a tribunal. Laptop on the table, TV connected, folders lined in a perfect row. Julian stood near the window. Grace leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. Then the doorbell rang. I didn't rush. I wanted him to wait. When I opened the door, Mark was already pacing. Rain streaked his collar, but the anger on his face burned hotter. You set me up, he said the second he stepped inside. No, I answered. You set yourself up. I just pressed play. He slammed the door. You've made me a joke. You made yourself one, I said. The internet just has better lighting. He glared at Julian. You helped her? Julian's tone stayed level. I represent her, not you. Mark turned to me. You posted that video without my permission. Your permission expired the moment you skipped your father's burial. He laughed once, sharp and bitter. You've destroyed my reputation. No, I said. You finally met it. Grace chuckled softly. She's got you there. Mark spun on her. Stay out of this. I'm just here to watch, she said. Public education. His jaw tightened. You think you're righteous? You've humiliated your own blood." "I'm disinfecting it," I replied. He stared at the table, at the stack of evidence he used to ignore. "What's all this?" "Every withdrawal, every message, every debt you said you'd repay." He grabbed the top page. "This means nothing." Julian stepped forward. "It means everything. It's notarized." Mark's hands trembled. "You're both insane." "No," I said. "We're organized." He looked at me again, voice cracking. "What do you want?" "The truth on record." I turned to the laptop, pressed play. The video filled the TV screen. Henry's casket, the empty pews, my stillness. Then the audio cut in. Mark's laughter, the clink of glass, his voice saying, "Best night ever." The room went silent, except for the thunder outside. Mark's shoulders sagged as the laughter echoed back at him. He muttered, "You edited that." Julian stepped closer. "Timestamp verified. Metadata intact." Grace added, "That's what honesty sounds like when it's sober." Mark shouted, "You think this makes you moral?" "No," I said. "It makes me accurate." He pointed at the screen. "That doesn't define me." "Neither did your attendance," I said. "That's the problem." He turned away, gripping the back of a chair. "You could have called. You could have told me." "I did. For years. You just answered with excuses." He looked up at this video still playing, his own smile frozen in digital arrogance. Then he whispered, "This isn't fair." I said, "Fair was the invitation you ignored." The line landed like a verdict. He sank into the chair, head in his hands. "I didn't mean to—" "You meant to avoid discomfort," I cut in. "Mission accomplished." Grace took a slow sip from her cup. My. Guess justice does trend." Julian placed another folder on the table. "For the record, Mark, this contains the signed trust transfer and the revocation clauses. Effective immediately, you and your wife are legally removed from all holdings." Mark stared at him. "You can't do that." Julian didn't blink. "She already did." I leaned forward. "I told you. Silence was a choice. This is the consequence." He pushed the folder away. "You're not my mother right now." "I stopped being your safety net, not your mother." He looked at me with something between anger and fear. "Why would you do this publicly?" "Because private lessons didn't work." He stood up fast, knocking the chair back. "Everyone's seen it." "Good," I said. "Now they'll remember what disrespect looks like." He took a step toward me, then froze as Julian raised a hand. "Careful," Julian warned. "Every word, every gesture, recorded." Mark's eyes darted toward the blinking red light on the laptop. He hesitated. "You're recording this too?" "Yes," I said. "History needs closure." He laughed bitterly. "You've lost it." "No, I've archived it." I walked to the TV, paused the video on his face mid-smile. Then I turned to him. "That's you. That's your legacy until you rewrite it." He swallowed hard. "And if I don't?" "Then this becomes permanent curriculum." The thunder cracked again, closed this time. Grace whispered, "Perfect timing." I moved back to the table, picked up Henry's letter, and placed it in front of Mark. "Read it," I said. He shook his head. "No." "Then I will." I unfolded it slowly. The paper crackled like static. "If they shame you, cut them off. If they lie, let the truth speak louder than your grief." Mark's voice broke. "He wrote that?" "Yes," I said, and I waited too long to follow it. I folded the letter again, slid it back into the envelope. Then I looked him straight in the eyes. "You sold attendance for alcohol. I bought justice with proof." He stared down, shaking, words gone. Grace spoke softly. "Lesson concluded." Julian closed the folder, adding, "Witnessed and recorded." I walked him to the door. He stopped, rain dripping from his hair. "Mom," he said quietly, "is there any way back from this?" "Yes," I said. "Forward, but not through me." He left without another word. The storm swallowed him whole. Inside, the house felt lighter, like it had exhaled. I turned to Julian. "File everything." He nodded. "Already done." Grace smirked. "That was cleaner than court." "Justice doesn't need a jury," I said. "Just evidence." I glanced at the paused video one last time. The reflection of my face beside his on the screen looked like contrast and consequence. Then I whispered to Henry's photo. He finally faced the truth. Now the world can too. The next morning, I dressed like I was going to war. Navy coat, hair pinned back, folder in hand. Not to bury anyone, just to close accounts. The street still smelled like rain. The world looked rinsed clean, ready for paperwork. At the bank, the clerk recognized me before I spoke. "Mrs. Whitford," she said gently. "We saw the video." "Good," I replied. "Then you understand why I'm here." She hesitated. "To withdraw?" "To terminate," I said. "Every joint account, every automatic payment, every signature that isn't mine." I placed the folder on the counter, each section marked with sticky notes: fraud, transfer, closure. Her eyes widened slightly. "This is everything." "Yes," I said, "everything that matters." She typed fast. I could hear the keys clicking like a metronome counting down the last seconds of their access. Behind her, the printer began to hum, paper sliding out like quiet verdicts. She looked up. "Do you want cashier's checks or direct transfer?" "Transfer," I said. "Julian Cross, trustee of the Caleb Whitford Fund." She nodded, fingers trembling a little as she printed the confirmation slips. Her voice lowered. "You're doing the right thing." "I'm doing the final thing." The documents rolled out, one after another. Account number 4037, terminated. MAR 4099, revoked. MAR 41903, closed. Each stamp hit the page with a satisfying thud. That sound was better than any apology. The clerk slid the final folder toward me. "Please sign here." I took the pen, the same brand Henry used. I signed once, slow and deliberate, then again and again. Each stroke was the sound of doors locking. When I finished, she said softly, "All done." "No," I said. "All corrected." I folded the copies neatly, tucking them back into the folder. She watched me, almost reverent. "Mrs. Whitford, if I may, you're stronger than most people could ever be." "Strength," I said, "is just consistency under pressure." I walked out without looking back. Outside, sunlight hit the marble steps. It felt sterile, almost surgical. Across the street, a billboard glowed with news headlines. "Charleston Widow's video reaches 2 million views. Justice by algorithm." I didn't smile, but inside, something unclenched. The phone buzzed in my pocket. Vanessa's number again. I silenced it. Then another call. Unknown number. Mark. Declined. I texted Julian instead. "Termination complete. Transfer confirmed." He replied immediately. "Excellent." Ledger balanced. I walked 2 blocks to the notary's office to file the closure receipts. Thomas, the notary, raised his eyebrows when he saw my folder. "You again?" "One last signature," I said. "Reclaiming peace, reclaiming ownership." He stamped the documents with a heavy seal. "Whitford Trust, executed." The sound echoed off the glass walls like a verdict. When I left, I crossed the street and looked up at the sky. The clouds had thinned. The light was harsh and honest. I whispered, "Fraud ends today." It wasn't anger anymore. It was clarity. That's the difference between revenge and record-keeping. Revenge wants noise. Records just want order. And mine were perfect. By the time I got home, my name was already trending. Hashtag funeral justice had become a storm. 2 million views turned to 5 before sunset. Clips everywhere. TikTok edits, reaction videos, podcasts dissecting my every word. One commentator called me the woman who weaponized truth. Another said she didn't lose her family, she audited them. They were both right. My inbox flooded. Journalists, strangers, old friends pretending to care again. Emails with subject lines like, "exclusive interview," or "tell your side." I deleted them all. The truth didn't need commentary, it just needed replay. Vanessa's Instagram vanished overnight. Mark's company issued a vague statement. Family matter? No comment. Grace sent me a screenshot. The board suspended him pending review. Consequences, fast and public. Exactly how he once preferred his drinks. Julian called. "They're panicking," he said. "Damage control." "Good," I replied. "Let them try to rewrite a video everyone's already seen." He paused. "You sure you don't want to make a statement?" "I already did," I said. "At the funeral." Outside, neighbors pretended not to stare when I checked the mail. Some waved politely, others whispered. It didn't matter. Whispers don't hurt when your truth is louder. Grace dropped by later that afternoon with 2 coffees. "Half the city's on your side," she said, handing me the cup. "The other half thinks you went nuclear." I sipped once. "Both halves are correct," she laughed. "Vanessa called me earlier, said you're destroying a family." "I'm disinfecting one." Grace set her coffee down. "You know what I like about you, Helen?" "What?" "You make silence look like justice." We watched the news in silence, anchor reading headlines over B-roll of my viral video, the empty pews, the wind, my still face beside Henry's coffin. Then my voice. "If they shame you, cut them off." The studio panel called it cold but necessary. One host even said, "That's not cruelty, that's clarity." For once, cable TV got it right. My phone buzzed again. Another number. Unknown. I let it ring. Then voicemail. Mark's voice. Low. Broken. "Mom, please call me. They fired me. Vanessa's gone. I didn't think it'd get this bad." I didn't delete it. I didn't answer either. Some lessons need the echo of silence. I turned the TV volume down. Across the ticker, my name scrolled beside words like bravery, inheritance, moral stand. Words that meant nothing the day before. Grace nodded toward the screen. "You realize you've become a symbol, right?" "I'm not interested in being one," I said. "Too late," she smirked. "They're already quoting you." The clock ticked steady. Somewhere outside, a reporter's van parked at the corner, antenna raised. The air smelled like rain and electricity, digital weather. I looked at the camera on my shelf, the one Henry once used to film birthdays. Now it had filmed something real. Maybe this was the only way to end a quiet life, loudly. I turned back to Grace. "You know what the internet doesn't understand?" "What?" "Justice isn't revenge. It's record-keeping with better lighting." She laughed so hard she almost spilled her coffee. "You should put that on a shirt." "No," I said. "On a tombstone." I stood, walked to the window, and opened it. The city hummed. Cars, voices, headlines. For the first time in months, the air felt lighter. Somewhere behind all that noise, Henry's words echoed back. "If they shame you, cut them off." I whispered into the wind, "They're cut, and I'm free." The storm wasn't punishment. It was purification. By Friday morning, the headlines had stopped calling me a widow. Now they called me a movement. The press conference wasn't my idea. It was Julian's. "Let the facts breathe," he said. "Don't hide behind silence when they're already shouting." So we scheduled it. Saturday, noon, at the Charleston Civic Hall. It felt strange, walking through the same glass doors where Henry once received his business awards. Now I walked in alone, holding a folder that weighed less than everything it proved. Reporters lined the aisle. Flashes popped. Someone whispered, "That's her." I didn't slow down. Julian met me near the podium. "You ready?" he asked. I was ready the day they didn't come to the funeral. He nodded. "Then say it plain. No metaphors, no forgiveness." I wasn't planning on either. Grace sat in the front row, her notepad open but untouched. She just smiled, like someone who had bought a front row seat to justice. When the microphones turned red, I started. 3 weeks ago, my husband was buried alone. No preamble, no tears, just air and truth. Our son and daughter chose a golf game and a brunch instead of their father's final goodbye. I didn't expose that out of anger. I exposed it because silence is how people like them survive. The room stilled. Even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. My late husband believed in evidence, not emotion. So I gave the world both. You saw the video, you heard the laughter. That wasn't editing, that was honesty. Someone raised a hand. Mrs. Whitford, do you regret making it public? No, I said. I regret not pressing upload sooner. Laughter rippled through the crowd, short, shocked, half nervous. I continued. You can't heal what you refuse to name, and I will not spend another year pretending ungrateful children deserve unearned wealth. Julian stepped aside as I held up the ledger, the same one that once lived in my nightstand drawer. Every check, every transfer, every rescue disguised as love, it's all here. $417,000 in 15 years. That's not parenting. That's subsidizing entitlement. A murmur ran through the room. Cameras clicked faster. Another reporter shouted, "What about your grandson?" I smiled. He came back without being called. That's what inheritance should reward. Character, not convenience. The crowd applauded softly. Even Julian's stoic face flickered with pride. Then I played it. The clip that ended every debate. A split screen. Henry's coffin, the empty chapel, and Mark's champagne toast captioned with his own words. Best night ever. The reaction was instant. Gasps, murmurs, a reporter covering her mouth. Grace whispered, "That's checkmate." I looked straight into the cameras. He said those words while his father's body was being lowered into the ground. You decide what that deserves. Mark and Vanessa were trending before I stepped off stage. Whitford children climbed faster than their apologies ever could. Backstage, Julian handed me a glass of water. You just dismantled them in 12 minutes. Good, I said. Now they'll have to rebuild without my money. Grace appeared, phone in hand. You've gone national. They're running it on CNN, Helen. I hope they spell my name right. She grinned. They did, in bold. By evening, every outlet had picked it up. Mother publishes proof of children's betrayal. Funeral justice goes viral. A new kind of inheritance. Comment sections filled with people writing, "She did what we all dream of doing." The internet had turned into a jury. And for once, it got the verdict right. Mark tried calling again. This time I answered. His voice was small. "Mom, please, I lost everything." "No," I said. "You lost what you borrowed." He begged, "Can we talk?" We just did. Click. Silence. Vanessa emailed an hour later. Subject line, "Legal review of trust terms." I forwarded it to Julian with one note. "Handle with dignity, not mercy." He replied within minutes. "Consider it done." At midnight, Grace texted me a single line. They thought they could bury the truth. Instead, you buried their pride. I looked at the TV muted in the corner, my face frozen mid-sentence, calm, decisive. Then I looked at Henry's photo beside it. "You were right," I whispered. "If they shame you, cut them off." I raised my glass of water in the quiet room. "To justice," I said softly. "Filed and final." The next morning, my lawyer called. "Everything's executed, legally airtight." "Good," I said. "Then let's seal it." He asked, "On paper or in principle?" "Both." I hung up, folded the news clipping that bore my name, and placed it into the family ledger. The last entry in black ink. Case closed. By Monday, the noise began to fade. The reporters left. The phones stopped ringing. And the house, my house, was finally quiet. The ledger was gone, the accounts closed, the signatures sealed. What remained was air, paper, and peace. I made coffee at 6 sharp, the way Henry used to. No background music, no television. Just the sound of the kettle and the soft hum of a refrigerator that never complained. The morning light cut across the kitchen table, landing on the same spot where he used to read the paper. For a second, I could almost hear him clear his throat, that small habit he had before saying something important. Then nothing. Just the silence I had earned. I walked to the porch. The air smelled of wet pine. Across the street, Grace's curtains moved slightly. She'd texted the night before. "You've done what every decent mother dreams of, told the truth and lived to see it hold." I typed back only one word: finally. Julian called mid-morning. "The court filings are complete. The trust's active. Caleb's name is on every deed." I nodded, though he couldn't see it. "Thank you," I said. "You sure you don't want to press charges for defamation or emotional distress?" he asked. "No, I want peace, not headlines." He paused. "Then this is it." "Yes," I said. "It's over." After we hung up, I sat at the kitchen table with one last envelope, the final copy of the executed trust. The paper felt heavier than its weight. Not guilt, not grief, finality. I wrote one more note across the bottom in my own handwriting, "For Caleb, who showed up." Then I sealed it, stamped it, and set it beside Henry's old pocket watch, both ticking, both precise. At noon, Caleb arrived. He didn't knock. He never had to. He carried a toolbox and a carton of takeout noodles. "Grandma," he said, smiling, "figured I'd fix that squeaky porch step today." "Go ahead," I said. "You've inherited the noise now." He laughed. "That's a big job." Justice always is. While he worked, I read the local paper. The headline was short: "Funeral Widow's Viral Justice Restores Faith in Accountability." Below it, a quote from Grace. She didn't destroy her family, she revealed it. I folded the paper neatly, placed it under the sugar jar. Proof of peace. When Caleb finished, we sat on the porch eating noodles from the carton, watching the street. He asked quietly, "Do you miss them?" "Which ones?" "Mom, Uncle Mark." "No," I said. "I miss who they could have been." He nodded slowly, then looked out toward the horizon. "You really think people can change?" "Yes," I said, "but not before they lose everything they thought they owned." The wind shifted. The sound of the step he fixed was gone. Clean. Final. He set the empty carton aside. "You know, everyone online says you're a hero." "I'm not," I said. "Heroes save others. I just stopped saving the wrong ones." We didn't talk for a while after that. The quiet between us wasn't heavy. It was solid, like a wall finally built straight. After he left, I walked through the house one more time. No ghost of apology, no echo of argument, just space. I gathered the last of the family photos from the sideboard. One of them, Henry holding Caleb as a baby, was worth keeping. The rest went into a box labeled History, not Heritage. Outside, the sky had started to clear. The clouds thinned, sunlight slid across the porch railing. The roses in the garden were nearly bare, stems dark from rain. I trimmed the last few blooms, not to save them, but to let them end cleanly. Henry always said, "Cut before they rot. Mercy's not delay." When I finished, I wiped my hands on a towel and looked up. The house felt lighter, the kind of lightness that follows a storm. That evening, I made soup, real soup, broth, carrots, a bay leaf, nothing instant, nothing rushed. I set one bowl for myself, one beside the empty chair. Old habits die politely. As I ate, the television flickered in the corner, volume low. A commentator read viewer comments aloud. "This is justice, quiet and absolute." Every mother watching just exhaled. I switched it off. I didn't need to hear what I already knew. At 8, the doorbell rang. Grace stood there with lemon shortbread and that same mischievous look. "You're trending again," she said. "Apparently someone turned your speech into a motivational reel." I sighed. Of course they did. "Do you mind?" "No," I said. "Let them. Maybe it'll save someone else a decade of silence." We drank tea, said little. When she left, she hugged me once, tight, as if to say she understood the weight of being finished. I stayed on the porch after she was gone. The street lights hummed, the air cool and clean. For a long moment, I just listened, to wind, to breath, to nothing demanding anything from me. Then I whispered the final truth, to no one and everyone. Peace isn't quiet. It's finally being heard. Inside, the phone buzzed once. A message from an unknown number. "Mom, I saw the video again. I understand now." I didn't reply. Some understandings don't need answers. I turned off the lights, locked the door, and left the phone face down on the counter. Outside, rain started again, soft, not angry this time. It tapped the roof like a clock counting toward morning. For the first time since the funeral, I slept without dreams. No weight, no names echoing through the dark, just stillness, steady and earned. Justice wasn't the end. It was the silence after the sentence, and mine was perfect.